Let's go ahead and move on to the next comment. This is about white space. So white space includes any space characters, any tab characters, and any new line characters. The deal with white space is that we want to make sure that we don't have any extra white space in our file. The purpose for this is that when you think about how many modules there are that exist in the Drupal code repository, if every one of them has extraneous white spaces, that can actually amount to a lot of space in the end. So we want to make sure that we don't have any unnecessary white space. The necessary white space should definitely be there. It aids for code readability, but white space at the end of lines or at the end of files should be removed. So this, if you look at this file in your editor and you turn on View Whitespace in Komodo, this is under View, and then there's an option to View Whitespace, you'll see that there's some extra characters here at the end of the lines and on new lines that don't have any code on them at all or any comments, and these should all be removed. Now, that's easier said than done, especially if you have a lot of code to go through. So what you can do is, in most editors, they offer a regex search and replace option. So that's regex short for regular expressions. Instead of just finding and replacing basic text, what we can do is search for specific patterns and replace them with specific patterns. So you can use this pattern here, which is a space, a star, which says any number of spaces, a new line character, which is a backslash and an N, a space with a star, which says any number of spaces after that new line, and then a question mark, which says to stop as soon as you get to something that's not a space. And then you can replace it with a backslash N, which will replace that whole bit with a new line that doesn't have any white space. One more important thing to mention in regards to white space is that when you indent your code, you should use 2 spaces instead of tabs. The reason for this is that spaces render the same across most editors, whereas tabs are wildly variable. So in one browser, a tab could look like 2 spaces, but in another it could look like 10 or 15 spaces, and that can make working with code pretty unwieldy. So just use 2 spaces, and you can usually set your editor in the settings panel to use those spaces instead of tabs. Okay, let's move on.